What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the Work to Create podcast. I'm your host, Colton Bacher, and this is season 1, episode 8. Today, we're talking about something that has affected and is affecting me right now in my creative career, and that is debt. Specifically, today, we're talking about how debt impacts filmmakers, photographers, and creatives trying to build a career, and in our case, build a career inside the music industry. I've made some mistakes here. Expensive ones. So this episode is part personal story, part warning, and part playbook for how to be smarter moving forward. And not to put too much pressure on it, but if you're not careful with this stuff, it doesn't only affect your wallet, it affects your art, your career, your mental health, and your future. Let's get into it.
I done came up, went through the ups and downs, but I stayed tough. Never took a shortcut and never gave up. This time around, I'ma stay up.
We are back. Man, I gotta apologize to everyone for taking a week off. Just lots of mental health stuff going on. Just a combination of things. Some of those things we're actually gonna talk about today, believe it or not. So pretty relevant. And I got back from Vegas. Vegas was great. It was EDC week. We were with Kurza doing all of the recaps for Tau Group, so Palm Tree Beach Club, Tau Beach, and Omnia, in addition to Marquee and a couple others. But yeah, it was super dope. Got to co-direct some stuff with Scotty Postal. You guys have heard of him before. Good friend of mine, and we had so much fun. We were tasked with creating the intros, so like the first basically like 20 seconds of each recap, so just going in there, building out some sort of story or concept, and then working with all the artists was super fun. In addition to that, guys, I just used Kling AI for the first time back in Vegas, so not this last weekend, but 2 weekends ago. And oh my gosh, my good buddy Cody Burkhart, if you're not familiar with this stuff, oh my god, you got to go check him out on Instagram. His stuff is insane, and he was showing me some of the stuff he was doing inside of Kling, and I already had Runway for like AI editing / video generation software tasks, if you're not familiar with what these programs are. But Kling, I just didn't realize how far ahead Kling was. Like, they're just so much further ahead than Runway. And now, recently, even just 2 days ago, Google VO3 came out, and some of the results from there are absolutely mind-boggling. So it's pretty wild. It's pretty exciting, also pretty scary. But yeah, something just clicked for me during the Vegas stuff, because yes, we were directing the intros, but I was also cutting those and doing all the VFX on those and stuff like that. And we had a really talented Blender artist helping us, but there was some of the stuff that he couldn't do. And if it wasn't for having Kling and Runway and figuring creative problem solving, how to use those things in these projects, I would not have been able to pull it off. And the results are crazy, guys. The results are crazy. I'm gonna make a carousel post here soon, just showing off all the different intros, or maybe I'll show them off individually. We'll have to see. But yeah, either way, I'm stoked to just keep implementing more and more AI into my workflow, so just save time and be more efficient, and all of those things, just save more time for being creative, which is what we love. All right, let's get into this episode. Enough of me rambling, but I also have to preface this by saying this is not financial or legal advice. None of this in this video, in this podcast, is legal advice. I am just a guy out here sharing my experiences, sharing my findings with you guys, and that is it. Okay? All right. The problem is large numbers of freelancers and filmmakers are in personal and or business debt. So Going full-time with your art might be your dream, but debt causes many of us to look at it as just that, a dream, never meant to become your reality. And so I went in to ChatGPT and did some deep research. If you haven't used, speaking of AI, if you haven't used this part of ChatGPT, it's pretty impressive, and it's amazing. And so I use this function, deep research, on this topic of debt among filmmakers and freelancers. And so, in addition to my own experiences, I discovered a lot of things here. So I'm going to share some of my findings. Debt is incredibly common for freelance creatives. So, for example, 1 in 5 independent workers, including freelancers, report needing a loan to start or sustain their business. That was from an article by CNN. Another little thing from CNN, many filmmakers rely on personal financing. So struggling filmmakers have long relied on credit cards to finance their passion projects. All right. And then this was really interesting. In 2021, at Columbia University, film MFA grads carried an average of federal debt of $181,000. I'm going to share how much debt I'm in right now, but let me tell you, it is not that. Thank God. But after 2 years after graduation, half earned under $30,000 annually. This is some mind-boggling stuff. I could not believe it. That's from the Wall Street Journal. But yeah, so at Columbia, on average, in that film program, $181,000 in federal debt 2 years after graduation. More, or about half of that graduating class are making under $30,000 annually. Guys, you cannot live off of that, which is wild to me. But you're starting to see how, going into debt does not necessarily equal success or things like that. We'll get into it. Here's some more stuff. We got filmmakers carry multiple types of debt, right? And I think this is pretty obvious, but we got student loans, credit cards, and private loans. And the big caveat here is we are carrying all of that debt simultaneously. So all at the same time, we have multiple types of debt, and a lot of it. A well-known fact is most indie films don't recoup their investments. So this is just filmmaking in general, right? A lot of indie filmmakers will spend their own money and, invest their own time and resources into making their film. But unfortunately, the majority of those never actually pay off. The goal is to make the film and then the film pays you back eventually. But that, is just not the reality, unfortunately. Excuse me. If you max out credit cards to shoot a film that never gets picked up, you could be paying off that debt for decades in addition to interest. So yeah, just brutal. And then we have high debt balances, and missed payments can wreck your credit. So this is Filmmaker magazine. And I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know this. The more debt you have and the more that gets out of control, it's going to make it harder for you to lease gear, to get a car loan, to secure future funding for films or projects, let alone buy a house. God forbid. Especially and guys, we all know that the economy and all of those things are just not in a good place right now. So I think there's no better time to be talking about a topic like this, because it's so relevant. And if we can take the correct steps, maybe we can save ourselves a lot of stress and anxiety, which I'm a big fan of, by the way, in case you haven't put 2 and 2 together. All right. Moving into kind of more the personal side of things, my personal story, and ultimately why I'm making this episode in the first place. And this is also, to be clear, I'm not sharing this for sympathy. I'm not, sharing it so that you guys feel bad for me or anything like that. I'm sharing it so that you don't make these same mistakes. Okay. So right now I'm roughly $20,000 in personal debt, another $35,000 in student loans, and another $20,000 in business debt. So roughly about $75,000 in debt total right now at this time. Not the best, but also not the worst. You know, like I can't even imagine being the student that has to pay back $181,000 in federal loans. That is bonkers to me. All right. More about me though. We got my first credit card ever was a Best Buy credit card. My parents wanted to set me up with it so that I could like begin to build credit and things like that. And I think generally that's a really good idea. But what happened was over time, you know, at first, obviously I used it responsibly. I would like buy something and then pay it back, right? But then progressively, because gear is expensive, I would max it out. And a lot of times it wouldn't be like necessary gear. You know what I mean? Like it would just be gear that I didn't necessarily need, but I bought it anyways. We've all been there. Don't lie to yourself. Like it's just a part of it, I guess. But this is a key thing right here. This is the first domino that fell for me. After that, so shortly after getting that credit card and all that good stuff, I took out actually, I got the credit card in college, and then post-graduation and setting up my business, I took out a $25,000 business loan to upgrade all my equipment. So this was kind of like the beginning of my business, and I was able to secure a loan to just like have cameras and lenses and a computer and like all the, you know, lights and things like that would function for my business. In addition, I was updating a lot of gear so that I could shoot in 4K and in slow motion and all those things, because that would eventually pay for itself. So for example, I got some pros and cons here. We got, it helped me level up early, like I said, and then it would help me land bigger clients because I was able to make higher quality work. And not only was I able to make higher quality work, but I was also able to do it faster and more efficiently. So, you know, at the end of the day, I don't think that this $25,000 business loan was a mistake or anything like that. In fact, I don't regret it at all. I think it was necessary for me to get my business off the ground. But there's a lot of cons. We have monthly payments. I think my monthly payment is about $675. And then we have like your gear depreciates. Like every year, your gear becomes less valuable. Thankfully, camera gear and filmmaking gear and all that stuff doesn't depreciate a ton, but it does. And then on top of it, the con is like, especially when you're provided that amount of money, it doesn't feel in the moment like it's something you have to pay back. And so it kind of leads into this like temptation of like, keep spending, keep, you know, taking out more loans or more debt, stuff like that. So that's like one of the biggest cons for me, was just like, again, all these dominoes like started to fall, and you know, you'll see. All right. So after that, I'm maxing out multiple credit cards or credit lines. So whether it's PayPal or Affirm, you know, where you can just, you don't want to pay for it now, you can pay for it in 4 payments or 12 payments or whatever, you know. And then PayPal credit, don't even get me started. Max that thing out, no problem, easy peasy. You know, new lens, new cameras, new gear, whatever. And to be fair, in the beginning, I was trying to invest it all back into the business, but not all of it was essential. And so now I have, like, let's just say PayPal, Affirm, and then like 3 credit cards minimum. We're talking, that's 5 payments a month of over $100. It adds up really quick. So this has been a tough lesson for me. And if it's not enough already, creative energy is hard to maintain. Okay. But then you add the financial pressure and it messes with everything. It's a domino effect. One knocks over the other, knocks over the other. It makes it harder and harder and harder to get out of that cycle. So this episode is literally all about learning from that, because these consequences are real and they don't go away. Debt follows you everywhere you go, even to the grave. And being in debt and not having complete control of your finances is an awful feeling. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, and you have to be strategic and intentional if you want to thrive as a business owner, because that's what we are. We are business owners. Okay. I know this is a lot, guys. And I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but like, this shit has plagued me for too many years. And I'm a young dude. I'm 27 and I'm ready to start making moves like in the business. Like I'm ready to start like making, big boy moves. And my lack, and I feel like the debt is like my handcuffs right now. And it's not allowing, like, I don't have the cash flow or the excess funds to really like truly invest in projects that I know are going to slingshot my career forward. And so that's where the frustration comes in, particularly for me, but also like no one likes not being able to pay their bills. Like it's the worst feeling. So yeah. Speaking of feelings, we have the psychological toll. So being in debt not only dictates how you create, but it weighs you down mentally and emotionally. So there's a strong link between debt and mental health. A 2018 Journal of Consumer Research study connected high debt to chronic psychological distress, especially for creatives with uncertain income. Sound familiar? Oh, man. All right. And filmmakers often internalize this stress. So they feel shame, guilt, and imposter syndrome if they're still in the hole while trying to make it. So like you're standing next to a bunch of creatives on a team, or, you're working with a bunch of other creatives on a team for a project, and everything would be great. Like I always think this, I would always think like I'm always happy to be making money, right? Like I'm happy to be on that job and doing the thing. And I'm blessed and thankful to be making that money. But to know that it's like gone already before I've even made it, it's like in the hole, never to be seen again because I'm in debt. That's like, it's affecting everything. And so, yeah, kind of having that imposter syndrome, you see people spending money while they're on a gig or something like that. And it just, internally, it feels awful to see that, and see some people that might have the freedom or maybe the illusion of freedom to kind of like, just buy things or that they think is nice, or go shopping and get some clothes while you're in a cool city, things like that. I feel super guilty to even like want to go shopping or to buy, I don't know, like a souvenir or something from a trip, because like I know that all the money I'm making and the money that I have now needs to go somewhere. So we have this constant pressure to prove ourselves, to make fast money, and then to justify going into debt. And I think this eventually leads to like the death of your creativity. Not to be dramatic, but some lose sleep, others burn out. Most don't talk about it. But it happens all the time, and it's difficult enough doing what we do without financial issues. So like even with Vegas, like this is a perfect example. I squeezed in like this extra edit the night before starting all the filming and editing for these intros that we were directing. And it was so stressful And for that first day, I was emotionally and creatively drained because I needed to make extra money. So, it's like cramming all these projects in, not being able to give your full focus to them. And I'm not saying that that's what happened here, but for that first day of the Vegas project with Kurza, I was not on top of my game. And that's because I squeezed in an extra project to make some extra money. And if I'm not in debt and not struggling like that, I would have never made that choice, ever. I would have allowed myself, space to just have those creative thoughts and ideas, and every thought that would be going on in my head would be about how I can make that project better, how I can tell the story better. But instead, I just want to get some sleep so that I can even just think clearly, and that's what we're talking about, guys, is like don't take this stuff lightly. This affects every corner of your life, and especially your career and your creativity. And I think that it's our jobs to fiercely protect our creativity and our ideas and our well-being, because that's why we're here. We're here to share our stories and ideas and creativity with the world, and maybe along the line make a difference, right? But if we got something like this weighing us down that we're carrying around, we can't be our best selves. And therefore, we're probably not going to show up for the world the way that we know we can. And that's frustrating. All right, we got some career consequences. Not to keep digging this hole, guys, but again, this is not to be taken lightly. This is something that I highly encourage you to take action on right now. If you see yourself slipping, this is your sign to lock the fuck in, okay? Excuse my French. All right. If you're deep in debt, you stop making bold art and you start making safe bets. So debt forces you to say yes to gigs you don't care about because you just need to make your payments. You stop taking creative risks. You start chasing checks instead of chasing a purpose. And all of us creatives have a deep, deep desire to make art that has meaning. I don't know about you, but that's how I see it. That's how I feel. Over time, your dream job turns into just another job. And this is where I'm at right now. And I'm desperately trying to get back to having fun with it all. I am. It's, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. You guys can tell that it's not a fun place to be based on everything I'm saying and the tone and all that stuff. It's awful. So I'm trying to get out of that. Some filmmakers even leave the industry altogether, which I refuse to do, but I would never, ever, ever blame someone or judge someone for wanting to leave, because it's not that they're not talented. It's because they literally cannot afford to stay in the industry. They need a consistent income in order to dig themselves out. And I thought this was really interesting. This is from Filmmaker magazine. There's this documentarian, Astra Taylor, and she said, and this is kind of more along the lines of traditional filmmaking, but I still think it gets the point across. So I'm just gonna read it here for you guys. Who can afford to intern for free with $100,000 in loans? This is directly from Astor Taylor, and her point is that opportunities in film often require unpaid labor or low-paid entry-level work, like interning on a production or working as a production's assistant. But graduates bearing huge debt cannot afford to take on those roles. They have to chase higher-paying work outside their field, which means lost networking and learning opportunities. So over time, this negative cycle can push talented but financially disadvantaged filmmakers out of the industry. So, as Filmmaker magazine observed, the end result is that filmmaking as a career risks becoming an occupation only for the privileged. So those who can lean on family money or safety nets to subsidize their early careers. We don't want to go down that route. That would suck. That would suck if it just became impossible for anyone to dig themselves out of debt because of this situation. Like, so this is why we're talking about it, and this is why hopefully we can learn from it, and then we're gonna use some filters to make our decisions. Sorry, I'm like trying to formulate thoughts right now, and kind of a struggle, but here we are. Thank you for sticking with me, guys. This is such a wild topic, but what I'm trying to say is we're going to learn more about debt, and then I'm going to try and provide you guys some advice or just some direction on like how to make decisions moving forward, how to avoid bad debt. And all right, so what do we do? How do we make sense of all of this? We have understanding good debt versus bad debt. Not all debt is bad, but if you don't know the difference, that's what can ruin you. Okay, we got good debt equals investment that builds your future. Good debt is borrowed with intention. You know how it's going to make you money or build career momentum. Here are some examples. We have buying essential gear that directly increases your earning potential. If you're, a perfect example that's relevant to the music industry and shooting festivals and all that stuff is people like red ops, like cinema camera operators. There's a really good market for like if you own a certain camera package, people will be interested in hiring you and paying you a higher rate because you own that camera, you invested in that equipment, and now you're able to raise your earning potential. We have financing a short film that has a path to real outcomes. So we have a short film, right? Like, let's just say that this is our baby. This is our passion project. But for this to be good debt, for us to sink a bunch of money into this film and for it to be good debt, we have to have a festival strategy, some sort of distribution, or some sort of other intention behind the film. The film cannot just be a film because we're businesses, and we either need that film to go on a festival tour, so it needs to hit a bunch of film festivals, or we need to have a distribution deal in place already, ready to go, or there needs to be some sort of strategy behind the distribution of that film so that we can get more eyes on it and build our business that way. Or maybe we just need the film to be good enough to attract like managers or some sort of representation that would enable us or put us in a position to have more opportunities in the future. Okay, and then we got taking low interest loans for a faster editing rig. So for example, we can finish more gigs in less time. So that would be a great example where it just like you spend the money, you take on debt so that you can then leverage it, like we talked about in previous episodes, and turn it into more money. Okay, now the key is that there's a clear path to repayment. That is like good debt should give you either, this is like a little bit separate from that, but so just there has to be a plan on how that debt is going to get paid back. And then we have good debts should give you either money, momentum, or meaning. So you guys remember the opportunity triangle? In a little bit here, we're going to go through that. So the opportunity triangle, I believe, is from last episode where We talked about working for free and how to determine if you should work for free or not. And we use that triangle as our filter. But first, I want to talk about bad debt. So bad debt equals emotional or ego-based spending. And so bad debt comes from panic, pressure, or ego. And it looks like, for example, renting gear with no plan, right? Or, let's say you're on a film shoot and you want to rent like a really crazy car. Maybe that just doesn't make sense to go into debt to just like have a really crazy car. It could just be a really nice car, And so it's like we don't want to be going into debt just so we can flex. That's super whack. That's out of pocket. Spending big on a project with zero audience or strategy. So you can't invest in a project just like spontaneously. Is that the right word? I don't even know. Yeah. Being spontaneous is to, do things without too much of a plan. Yeah. So don't spontaneously spend a bunch of money on a project where you don't know how that money is going to find its way back to you. That's pretty simple. I feel like it's just like general common sense, but we're just going to say it all because you never know. And like, these are all really good things to just keep in our heads here. So this kind of debt slowly suffocates your future and traps you in a cycle of stress and survival mode. And this is where I'm at. It's not fun. And I'm doing everything I can to get out of this situation. So let's look at how to use debt responsibly in your creative career. If you're going to use debt, treat it like a business investment. There has to be an ROI, a return on your investment. You've heard me say it before. So have a revenue plan. Don't take on debt unless you know how it's going to get paid back. Cap your exposure. So set a hard limit on personal debt. So personal debt, we're talking about credit cards. We're talking about, credit lines, things like that. Set a limit per project. It could be per month or it could be per year, but stick to that plan and enforce it like your life depends on it, because it kind of does. Okay, jokes, but seriously, take it like this is important. So, and then think like a business. Would a real business spend $15,000 with no idea how that would translate to more clients or higher paying clients? No. Don't let art be an excuse for poor strategy. It's a big one. Okay. And then get advice, which you're doing right now. I'm sure if you clicked on this, you were looking for some level of information to help you in future decision-making or career growth, whatever it is. This is great. You're on the right path. Talk to someone who's made debt work, not me. But it also says, and someone who's been burned. That's me. I'm on that side of things. So you can learn from both people. So I'd highly recommend going and finding someone that was in debt and is now not in debt, and just ask them how they did it, because I think that information would be incredibly valuable. And I will definitely share once I finally get out of debt. I will share with you guys how I did it. And so, yeah, kind of, I'm trying to do it by the end of the year, which I know is like, and it's not all debt. I'm just trying to get rid of my personal debt, the 20,000 in personal debt, and then start chipping away at the business debt. But yeah, the goal is to just get rid of $20,000 of personal debt this year. And finally, we have the opportunity triangle that we talked about. So what we are asking ourselves is, does this give me money, meaning, or momentum? And if it doesn't hit at least two of those things, don't take it on. So good debt should give you either money, momentum, or meaning. We can make decisions by applying this filter. Does taking on this debt provide 1, income, 2, career momentum, or 3, will it bring you fulfillment and joy? So again, For us to be comfortable with taking on that debt, we have to say yes to at least 2 out of 3 of those boxes. And then we build a plan around it. And yeah, I feel like right there, like that, had I had this little framework when I was building my career and I followed it, I'd be fine. I'd be absolutely fine. So I really hope that you guys take this to heart and apply this to your careers and to your lives. I think it can make a world difference. And yeah, if you're able to put this into practice and you can see yourself making good decisions and growing, I would love to hear about it. It's always so cool to just meet people and hear about the decisions they made and where it got them. So yeah, I really hope this helps. Guys, I've already said it. Don't take this lightly. This plagues creatives all over the world. Do yourself a favor, make smart financial decisions. Next week, we're diving into something equally important, pre-production. I know, that's pre-production. How are they equally important? If you're a freelancer and haven't gone to school for this stuff, then you probably haven't spent a ton of time on this part of your creative process. But something I'm discovering now is that pre-production is everything. Everything. And you'll hear more about that next week. Also, I'm playing with this idea of making a music industry specific sound pack. So please reach out if you're interested in this. But basically what I'm thinking is CO2, crowd noises, pyro, whooshes, risers, all of those fun just textures and things that we can apply to our sound design that just makes the video come to life. I think that would be super fun to make, and I've been looking for some of these things myself, so maybe I'll just go create it. Reach out to me if you have any ideas. I'm always open to, including those ideas or building them into the product as well. So yeah, super open to that. Hit me up. All right, if you found what you heard today valuable, even just a little, please consider liking, subscribing, following, commenting, and even leaving a review on your podcast app of choice. It helps this podcast get discovered, and hopefully, as a result, we can help more people. Your support means the world. Work to create, work to inspire, and I'll see you next time.
I'm on a roll like a jalopy with the brakes cut. I done came up. Back then I had to stay up.